What's up, guys? Yeah, buckle your seatbelt. Because your life is the most important thing that you have. I want to talk about taking up space. You know you need to take up more space. What's getting in the way of you taking up space, it's your thoughts. You know, your limiting thoughts, your limiting beliefs. You don't want to take up space because you're scared of what other people think about you. You're scared of overextending yourself into other people's boundaries. You feel uncomfortable because you've never taken up space in that type of way that you truly want to take up space before. And so you come up with all these things in your mind as to why you don't take up space. Why, when you have the opportunities to take up space, you get apprehensive about it. At the same time, those aren't the actual reasons why you're not taking up space. You see, those are the reciprocal reasons for why you're not taking up space. And the main reason you don't take up space is because you don't yourself have boundaries. You're probably a people pleaser, which means that you ignore your desires, your well-being in many scenarios and circumstances so that you can please other people, because maybe at some point in your childhood, you learned that taking up space is unsafe. So now as an adult, you carry that mindset around you. And that's also tied with not having boundaries, because when you take up space, you are setting boundaries. So to some people, taking up space just means taking up a bigger boundary for a certain period of time. But because you don't have the basis of setting boundaries in the first place, you are not comfortable taking up a small amount of space, let alone a huge amount of space. So how are you going to go create the things that you want to create in the world? How are you going to write the things that you want to write and get them out there and advocate for yourself when you don't allow yourself to take up the small space that you need to in order to, write the song in the first place or film the video in the first place without deleting it 2 seconds after you film it and saying, "This is fucking stupid. I can't believe that I even thought about putting this on the internet." You're not taking up space because you're scared you might offend someone. You're so vigilant of other people's boundaries that you're not honoring your own boundaries. And because of that, all these great ideas that could impact the world, that could change someone else's life, that could give them even a little bit of fuel to go take up their space the way they need to, you're not putting that out into the world. It's actually doing a disservice by not taking up space. See, the thing is, the people that are taking up space right now in the world, they know how to take up space and they don't feel bad for taking up space. And it's actually the people who are not taking up space that need to take up more space, because that's how we get a diversity of ideas in the world. Pardon this train while it passes. The train's taking up space, it's not thinking about it. I'm sure it annoys some people that the train takes up space, right? I'm sure the people that live right here next to the train hate that every 5-10 minutes it goes doo 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 doo. But guess what? The greater good, the train provides a greater good to the world, where it transports tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people through the city throughout the day. It enables them to live their lives, to go to work, to make money, to support their families. And so in comparison, the train making a little bit of noise and annoying some people who voluntarily chose to live right next to the train, maybe because the rent was cheaper, whatever reason. Yeah, naturally you taking up space is gonna provide some negative effects to the world, to some perspective. But also you will never know. You will never be able to experience what it's actually like to take up space and see the consequences of it, negative or positive, until you actually do it. And once you start doing it, what you can do then is you can listen and be like, hey, okay, so these are the negative consequences that come with me taking up space in this way. But next time I do it, next time I speak my voice, next time I share my thing, I'm gonna tweak it a little bit differently to minimize the negative consequences that come with me taking up space. And then you also get to see the positive. And hey, the way that I took up space in this way really empowered somebody else to take up space in their way. And I got the message or the vision that we're trying to get across even better because I was able to take up space in the circumstance. And now how do I maximize or magnify these positive effects so that it can reach more people? So yeah, your apprehension of taking up space initially is because you're focused on the negative effects that might come with it without drawing boundaries around what you allow, what you won't allow. And then you don't get to see the positive effects, and then you don't get to see that within yourself you can go and iterate on how you take up space. You can change the ways that you show up so that you can better come across the way that you want to come across. Part of taking up space is knowing how to communicate, knowing how to set boundaries the way that you want to set them. For the longest time in my own life, I didn't want to take up space because I didn't want to be seen. And I didn't want to be seen because I didn't have boundaries around my life. I didn't want to be seen because I didn't want the people that I worked with to view me a certain way. I didn't want to be seen because I didn't want people from my past coming back into my life. I didn't want to be seen because I didn't want my family to think of me a certain way. And one common denominator that could allow me to be seen in the way that I want to express myself and to subset the negative consequences of I didn't want my coworkers or people I knew, my family, to see me a certain way, or I didn't want people to think they had a certain level of access into my life, all had to do with boundaries. It's all how I set boundaries. Because I didn't have that mental boundary with myself between, like, the emotional boundary of my coworkers are my coworkers. They are not my friends. They don't have to support me the way that my friends in my life support me. My family is my family. They raised me, they grew me, but I'm also an adult and I can take care of myself. And so I'm not dependent on my family for my survival anymore. And so kind of similar to the coworker and the friendship thing is I can have emotional boundaries with my friend or with my family where, you know, if they want to see me a certain way, they can, but because I have my own boundaries, the way that they see me does not impact my sense of self-worth, my feelings of feeling stable and having a roof over my head and being able to take care of myself. And then the people that try to come back in my life, if I don't want them to be in my life, I don't have to give them my time and energy. You know, I can still have boundaries around my time and my energy and my attention. So now that I know all of these limiting beliefs, what I needed to do was combat them through setting boundaries. Now I have no more excuses for showing up the way I want to show up in my life. Truly, no more excuses. So what's stopping you from being seen? Maybe it's the lack of boundaries that you're setting. In order for me to feel more comfortable doing something like this, like literally just filming myself talking about relationships and life and things that are important to me, that I think would benefit, like if I were to share it, it would benefit more than just myself. The way I can show up like this is because I wrote down all those limiting beliefs and I set boundaries within myself. Not just physical boundaries and boundaries around my time and my space, but also boundaries around my attention and energy and emotions. So that I can do something like share my thoughts and feelings with people that it might resonate with, so that they can take the necessary actions in their life to make the change in the world that they want to see. So long story short, you're scared of being seen because you lack boundaries.